verses 15, and we'll conclude at verse number 19. And it says, I am the Lord, the Holy One, the Creator of Israel, your King. Thus saith the Lord, which maketh a way in the sea, and a path in the mighty waters, which bringeth forth the chariot and horse, the army and the power. They shall lie together, they shall not rise, they are extinct, they are quenched as tow. Verse number 18, remember ye not the former things, and neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? He says, I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now shall it spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I want to talk to you this morning from the simple subject, it's just a matter of time. Look at your neighbor and just tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, it's just a matter of time. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Father, speak to us in Jesus' name. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Things are always transitioning, passing, if you will, from one condition or one place or one activity going to another. Things are always transitioning. In other words, life is full of changes. Like it or not, change happens. Change happens. And listen, like it or not, you participating in the change or ignoring change does not stop changes from happening. You can sit there with your head buried in the sand like an ostrich, but world and change will work its way around you. And when you finally pull your head up out of the sand, you won't know where you are because things around you have changed. If you don't believe me, if you haven't taken a drive in D.C. in quite some time, take a drive down H Street. Take a drive down New York Avenue. Go up 14th Street, go up U Street. The life that I knew as growing up as a child in D.C., it looks totally different. In fact, you don't even have to go that far. Take a ride across the river. Go over to Anacostia, and you will see that things are changing. Things change. And the Bible is full of transitions, changes, and shiftings. I said the Bible is full of transitions, changes, and shiftings. We see things going one direction, then miraculously they change, and now they are going in a complete different direction. We see one being elevated and while the other being brought down. We see captivity and then we see liberty. We see weeping, then we see joy. We see darkness giving away to light. We see death and then we experience life. We see things old giving away to things coming new. We see transitions. We see shifting. We see things changing, things moving. And the Bible declares that there is a time and a season for everything under the sun. There is a time, there is a season for everything under the sun. You may as well go ahead and adopt that philosophy and recognize and accept that things don't always stay the same. Look at even your life. Pull a picture of you 20 or years ago, and you see that there have been some changes. I know we have Bijans, and now I know that women color their hair. We don't like to say dye, but they color their hair. And if you don't allow the color to remain in there, you'll see what was once pure black. Mm-hmm. There was a time there were no lines on your face. Lord have mercy. No crow eyes and all of that stuff. No bags under your eye. But things change. Things change. You once were a size 6, a size 7. But now you have elevated and you've grown to the teens, whatever your teens may be. Yeah, your waist used to be a 28. It used to be a 28. Yeah, you can about pick, choose, and refuse what you wanted to wear because they had it in your size. Now you find yourself having to go to the dressing room and try things on for the simple fact that things have changed. There is a time and a season for everything, a time for laughter, a time for tears, a time for pain, a time for joy, a time to be silent, and a time to speak up. Can I park there? Can I park there for a minute? Now is the time for us to start speaking up if we want to see some change. We've been silent too long. And now in our society is the time for more of us to speak up, for more of us to get on the phone and call your senator, call your congressman, call your state official, call your local official. Get on the phone. In fact, not just call downtown, but you might need to call your next door neighbor and say, what's up? What's going on with you? Call that church member that you know. It's time. At the same time, there are some things, Elder Cutler, that I'm glad God doesn't allow to remain the same. I'm so glad that my troubles, my problems, my issues have a timeline. They change, but the Bible declares that seasons change, and the Bible also lets us know that I have a due season. Somebody say a due season. In other words, I'm due for a breakthrough. I'm due for a blessing. I'm due for some peace. I'm due for a little joy. I'm due for a great change in my life. And the Lord sent me here this morning to prophesy and to declare over someone's life this morning that you are in for a due season. You are in for a change, and your change is on the way. How do you know, McCoy? Let me encourage you that it's only a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. I wish somebody would praise it right now. In our text, in the text that we read, the people of God were in Babylonian captivity. They were in Babylonian captivity, and while they were in captivity, the prophet Isaiah prophesies their deliverance. He tells them about their deliverance. He tells them that really it's just a matter of time. He says, I know it seems a little rough and tough right now, but God is going to bring you out. And here in verse number 43, or in chapter number 43, he reminds them of who God is to them. He reminds them, or God reminds them of who he is to them. And I come to remind somebody, I'm not going to let you forget that although you might be in some type of captivity, let me remind you who God is to you. The song says that God is, Brother Juan, my everything. I said God is my all in all. And he reminds them, he says, although you are in captivity, although things are not looking like the way you want them to look, he tells them, or God tells them, I am still your God. Just hunch your neighbor and tell your neighbor, he's still my God. Regardless of sin, Satan, or circumstances, regardless of how I got into this mess that I'm in, he is still, somebody say, my God. Whether I was right or whether I was wrong, he's still my God. Whether or not it was the enemy or it was myself, he's still my God. Whether I'm down, whether I got tears in my eyes, whether it seems like I'm not going to get out, he's still my God. Whether my heart is breaking, my toes are breaking, he is still. God tells them in so many words, Sister Reese, he says, I am the same God that brought you out before. I am the same God that made a way for you before. I am the same God that destroyed your enemies of the past. I am the same God that got you out of Egypt. I'm the same God. He tells them that your deliverance is at hand simply because I'm the same God. Oh, God. Good God Almighty, calm yourself down, McCoy. Tell them, the same God. Somebody need to be reminded, just hunch your neighbor and say, he's the same God. I know you got tears in your eyes, but he is the same God. I'm the same God, he says. And he tells them, somebody go ahead and give him a praise right here. It's the same God. Chucky, he's the same God. 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 And so he says right here in the text that we read this morning, he says, listen here. Yes, I'm the same God. I still have all power in my hand. He says, but I'm not going to do it like I did it before. But I'm going to do it. Lord have mercy. And that's good news for somebody. He's not going to do it like he did it before, Venable, but he's going to do it. Oh, just touch your name and just say, do it, God. Do it, God. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to figure God out. Just know that God is working it out. Whatever your it may be, just know that God is working it. That one too, yeah. He's going to work it out. He's going to, I don't know how God is going to do it, but I know he's going to do it. And we must have the faith that God is going to do it, and that it's only a matter of time. We believe that he is going to do it, so then we must follow where he leads. Where he leads, I will follow. Y'all too young to know old songs like this. Where he leads, I will follow. Where he leads, I will follow. I'll go with him all the way. Warren Sellers, you sitting there like you ain't never heard that song. So then, we must follow where he leads. We must listen when he speaks. We must give when he asks. We must desire what he offers. We must claim what he promised. And we must see when he reveals. Good God Almighty, good God Almighty. And so he says, I am going to do a new thing. I'm going to get you out a different way. Something new, something refreshing, something exciting is headed your way. You just have to expect the new. Expect something new. Expect something great. Expect something spectacular and expect God to do it. He says right here in the text, he says, I will make a way. I know it seems like there is no way, but he says, I will make a way, because he's a God that makes ways out of no way. Mama called him Waymaker. And I come to remind somebody and come to tell somebody on this morning that he is a way maker, and what you're going through, your deliverance, is just a matter of time. God is going to bring you out. So the question comes, what do I do while I am patiently waiting for God to do what he said he would do? I'm waiting. What do I do? Three things, and I'll be done. Number one, and we'll come back and talk about it. Number one, so I want you to write this down. Don't be distracted by the past or the present. Don't be distracted by the past or your presence. Don't be distracted by your past or your present. All right, can I give you one more? Don't be defeated by the pressure. Don't be defeated by the pressure. Everybody say pressure. Don't be defeated by the pressure. And then number three, depend on God's power. Depend on God's power. So don't be distracted by the past or the present. Don't be defeated by the pressure, and then depend on God's power. Don't be distracted by your past or your present. In Isaiah, the text says, remember, God says, remember not the former things. Not in terms of forgetting what God has done, but rather forgetting as to putting God in a box and conclude that God was doing his best the last time he got you out. So you cannot be distracted by your past or by your present. Many of you will never experience or know the joy of the future and experience God on a greater level because you have made a monument on what happened yesterday. Yes, yesterday was good, and I like what God did, but I am in, thank you, Pastor Vita, I have raised my level of expectation, and I have great expectation of what God is going to do next. I remember that he brought me out, but I'm not so much concerned as to how he did it, because I am expecting some. Help me out, Paul. Okay, I'll help you out, McCoy. They looking at you funny. I'll help you out. Paul says, forgetting those things which are behind. Stop looking behind. Y'all better say something before I come down your road. Some of you all keep looking behind, talking about things were better when you weren't saved. Things were better when you weren't giving your offering. Things were better before you gave your life to Christ. Stop looking behind. Stop looking. And then for some of you who've been saved a long time ago, yeah, it was good when God did that. It was good. Yes, it was good. But Paul says, I'm forgetting those things which are behind. What things? Past sins and failure. What things past disappointment, what things past rejections, what things past victories. I'm thanking him for bringing me out of Egypt. I'm thanking him for dividing the Red Sea. I thank him because we walked over on dry land. And yes, I thank him because he destroyed Pharaoh and his army. But that was yesterday, and I am no longer in Egypt. I am in Babylon. That was yesterday, and that was Egypt. I'm in Babylon now. And what worked in Egypt ain't gonna work in Babylon, because I ain't got no sea in Babylon. I'm in the middle of a desert in Babylon. May I remind you that the Babylonian captivity was so much different than the captivity of Egypt. They had what I call limited freedom. Life was good, but yet they had limits. In other words, they were free to roam around, free to do and live their life pretty much however they wanted to live, but they did have the limits. And the devil has placed limits on many of you. Yes, you come to church, you run around the church, you shout, you dance, you holler, but yet your mind is in turmoil. Lord, have mercy. You have limited freedom. And because you get to enjoy yourself, the enemy has lulled you to sleep. Even in our community, we are asleep. You think, because they said you can vote, you are free. But what we don't pay attention to is that they are redistricting community lines to ensure that your vote is limited. Do you not know that the voting law is a law and it had a term limit on it? This mic must stop working. Limited. And we have fallen asleep as black people. We enjoy some of the liberties that we have, not realizing that it's limited liberties, it's limited freedom, because they keep us bound. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Do you think all of the black communities were in the black communities by happenstance? No, it was designed that way. All right, I'm gonna go back and get spiritual for all my D folks, all my D folks. That's the problem. We've been shouting while laws have been made to undermine us. Why is the zip code, the insurance rate for my zip code in 20019? It costs me much more to insure my car in 20019 than it costs for 20720. Lord, have mercy. We've fallen asleep because we allow the little liberties that they gave us to make me feel like, or to make us feel like that we have arrived. But thank you, Paul. Paul says, I count not myself to have apprehended. In other words, he said, I haven't arrived yet. And let me tell you, we still singing, we shall overcome. Let me get back to this. But I come to tell you on this morning, God is about to exceed your expectation. Look at your neighbor and say, he's about to blow your mind. It's just a matter of time. You just have to hold on a little longer. It's just a matter of time. And don't be distracted by what happened in the past. And don't be distracted by what's going on in the present. What's going on right now. Why? Because God is bigger than your past. God is bigger than your present. And then number 2, I said, don't be defeated by the pressure. Don't be defeated by pressure. Pressure. You've got to remember that you really are a diamond in the rough. You are a diamond, and diamonds are created by an extreme amount of pressure. Help me out, Paul. Paul says, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Let me remind you that this ain't your first rodeo with pressure. This is not the first time you've had to deal with pressure. You pressed your way out of your mother's womb. You've been dealing with pressure all of your life. So don't get distracted by the pressure you feel today, because you know in the end all things work together for the good. Don't be distracted, or don't be defeated by pressure. You know, they had pressure before. So you cannot allow the pressure to prevent you from winning. In fact, God has an antidote for every type of pressure you feel. For every type of pressure you face. For loneliness, he says, I'll never leave you, nor forsake you. For sickness, he says that with his stripes you are healed. For weariness, he says, they that wait upon the Lord, I feel like preaching, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not get weary. They shall walk. If you're having financial issues, he says, I will supply all of your needs according to his riches in glory. If the enemy is on your track, let me remind you that when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a banner. No weapon, silent weapon, big weapon, little weapon, sneaky weapon, racist weapon, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up in judgment, you have the power. So don't be defeated by the pressure, because what the devil meant for my demise, what the devil meant for my destruction, what the devil meant for evil, God will turn it around. I said God will turn it around, and he will make it work out from. What shall we say to these things? If God be for us, absolutely nothing and nobody can stand against me, because with Jesus all I do is win. When I said with Jesus, all we do is a win. All we do is a win, regardless of the pressure, we win, regardless of how big it is, we win, all we do is win. Don't be defeated by pressure. What are you saying, McCoy? I'm saying don't quit. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, okay, it's tight right now, but don't quit. And listen, and don't charge God foolishly. Can I give you my final point? And we can go home for today. I know y'all got Super Bowl parties to get to. You ready to get your wings and your chips and your sliders and your nachos and all that stuff. You ready to get you some good guacamole and all that stuff. Yeah, I know. No, some of y'all gonna eat some fried chicken and all that stuff. I know you got your party favorites, all that. I ain't gonna talk about what you're gonna drink, but I know, church is Corinthians. I know. This is Corinthian. I know. The name might not be Corinthian, but Corinthian lives in here. I know. This is Corinth. I know. Lord have mercy. McCoy, stick with your nose. Stick with your manuscript. Stick with your manuscript. Stick with your manuscript. But I know. I'm gonna leave it. I'm trying to move. Elder. Associate Pastor Cutler, I'm really trying to move. So you helping me. I'm trying to move. But I'm stuck. I'm stuck because the same, I'm stuck. So let me just go ahead down that road. The same, all y'all that I just named, I didn't name the activity, but you found yourself in that group, but you talk about other folks and their problems, other folks and their issues, other folks and their shortcomings. Yeah, you so quick to condemn everybody else. You so quick to send other folks to hell because you sleeping with your husband. And they ain't sleeping with theirs. And you ready to send them. Oh, Lord, I got to get back to my notes. When I grew up, church that I grew up in, fire baptized, Holiness Church of God of the Americas. They taught us that we have to be saved. And then they said, be sanctified. I'm going to move. So let me give you this last point so you can get to the game. You have to depend on God's power. Somebody say God's power. You have to depend on God's power. Depend on his power to keep you wherever it is he takes you. I said you have to depend on his power, not just to keep you where he takes you, but to keep you where you fall into. You have to depend on his power to lead you out of and lead you into your destiny. You have to depend on his power to make a way. We spend so much time trying to make it on our own and make it using our own strength. But I come to tell you, yes, by all means do your part, but you have to depend on God's power. Why? Because God is the greatest power, and power belongs to God. And since it was he, or since it was God that made the promises to you, it's God's responsibility to fulfill every promise he made. In other words, if God said he's going to bring you out, don't worry about how he's going to do it. Just rest assured that it's just a matter of time, and he will show up with all of his power. He will show up and he will make a way. So regardless of how hard it may seem, you can depend on the power of God. God's power makes ways out of no way. God's power grants hope in the midst of despair. God's power provides joy in the midst of sorrow. God's power gives you peace in the midst of confusion. God's power brings order in the time of chaos. God's power supplies grace for the space. God's power gives strength in the times of weakness. God's power brings calm in the midst of the storm. God's power provides protection in the time of war. And God's power gives victory in every battle. How do you know? For the battle is not yours. It belongs to God. Whatever you need, whatever you are facing, it's the power of God that will cause it to change. And it will cause greatness to manifest in your life. Let me remind you, there is power, wondrous. It's not wonder because we're not wondering. It's wondrous. It's mighty. We're not wondering. It's wondrous. That's what the hymn writer says. It's wondrous working power. In other words, it exceeds your expectation. It blows your mind. Tell me, who can stand before us when we call on his great name? Somebody give me a J. Somebody give me an E. Somebody give me an S. Somebody give me a U. Somebody give me another S. Now, what's that name? What's that name? I can't hear y'all. What's that name? It's just a matter of time. Your victory is just a matter of time. I gotta leave here. But let me tell y'all, your deliverance is just a matter of time. Good God Almighty, my way out is just a matter of time. Your healing, your breakthrough, your liberation is just a matter of time. And I come to remind you that God will do just what he said he would. The tribe of Levi told us this morning that God is able to do just what he said he'll do. He's going to fulfill every promise to you. I got some promises, and you have some promises, and he's going to fulfill. He's not going to cherry pick. You know how sometimes we want to cherry pick what we want to do and what we don't want to do? Even after we make a promise, we make several, and then we decide, well, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do this one. God is not like that. He's going to fulfill every promise he made. Don't give up on God. I know circumstances around you may seem grim and dim. Give up on God. Because, help me out, Jeremiah. He says, I know the thoughts, the plans that I think towards you. Brian, he knows the thoughts and the plans that he thinks towards you. Thoughts of peace, not of evil, and to bring you to an expected end. One translation says to give you a future And my future does not include bondage. My future doesn't include boundaries, limits. It does not include what the enemy says I can or cannot have. It includes all of the promises God has made. And some of you, you have promises that you don't know about. In fact, all of us. Because he made some promises to our grandparents and our great-grandparents. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. This is Black History Month. Back when they were on the slave plantation, they were singing, Lord, make a way. They were saying, Lord, take care of my babies. Take care of my grandbabies. If you don't do it for us, looking for the generation, don't let them experience what we had to endure. Oh, God, so there are some promises that have been made that's going to be manifested in your life. You just have to don't be distracted by the past or the present. Don't allow the pressure to keep you down. Don't be defeated. Don't be defeated by the pressure. Don't be defeated because you ain't got no help with them kids. Don't be defeated because they walked out and she walked out and he walked out and they talking about you on social media and all that. Don't be defeated by the pressure. Don't be defeated because after you paid all your bills, you only have $10 to your name where you got $10. Don't be defeated. At least you're not in the red this week. You've had pressure before. You came here by way of pressure. Perhaps even now, you're in the birth canal. And what you're dealing with right now is pushing you out and pushing you in to your next dimension, to your next round of glory, to your next level of blessing. So don't be defeated by your pressure. And then depend on God. Depend on God's power. We're standing all over the building. Somebody clap those hands and give God. Lift it one more time. Everybody say, oh. Bring the music down. I want to do this. I want to open up the altar. I want to open up the altar. And if you found